Hello my dear students and viewers. In this video, I will discuss the properties of conductors in electrostatic equilibrium. So, we will define what electrostatic equilibrium is. In the later part of the discussion, I will give real-world applications of this concept and solve a problem through the application of Gauss's law. First, I will briefly discuss the concept of conductors before we proceed to the main topic, which is about electrostatic equilibrium. So, if you're ready, let's start making physics fun and interesting. In thermodynamics, we have studied the concept of thermal conductivity. In our topic in electromagnetism, there is another type of conductivity, but this time it has something to do with the electrical property of the material. So these conductors are no longer thermal conductors, but we call them electrical conductors. Now, how do we say that a material is a good conductor of electricity? So we know that there are materials that conduct electricity well at some extent, and there are also materials which do not conduct electricity. We call them insulators. But our main focus today are actually conductors. So how do we say that a material is a good conductor of electricity? So the reason why a material becomes a good conductor is due to the presence of an extremely huge number of free electrons. So if in a material, there is an extremely large number of free electrons, then that material is a good conductor of electricity. So how do these electrons become free? If electrons are no longer bound to a parent atom and they are free to move from one atom to another, then we call them free electrons. Sometimes we also call them conduction electrons. That's why it is said that they are available for conduction. And what materials are considered to be good electrical conductors? We know that metals in general are good conductors of electricity. However, we know that some metals are more conductive than other metals, right? So saan nakadepende ngayon yung pagiging mas conductive ng isang klaseng metal kumpara sa iba pang mga metals? We know that all of them have an extremely huge number of free electrons. Kung mas conductive yung isang metal, ibig sabihin lang yan, mas marami siyang free electrons kumpara doon sa isa pang metal, right? Yes, that is true. So anong dahilan at mas maraming free electrons yung isang metal kumpara doon sa isa pa? 'Di ba? Now that has something to do with the number of valence electrons. Sa tingin niyo, anong mga metals yung mas conductive? Yung mas kakaunti ang valence electrons or yung mas marami ang valence electrons? O, di ba? O, sige, pag-isipan niyo yan. Alin kaya ang mas conductive? Yung marami ang valence electrons or yung kakaunti yung valence electrons? If you don't know the answer, you can think of an example. Copper and iron. We know that copper is obviously more conductive than iron. Why? Because we know that most electrical conductors are made of copper, not iron, di ba? Kung iron yan, dun siya ginagamit usually for structural purposes. But for electrical conductors, mas ginagamit ang copper. Now, alin ba sa dalawa ang mas marami ang valence electrons? Yun bang copper o yun bang iron? Di ba? If you can recall your topic in chemistry about the number of valence electrons of specific elements, alin sa dalawa ang mas maraming valence electrons? Yun bang iron or yun bang copper? Diba? Mararecall natin na mas maraming valence electrons ang iron kumpara sa copper. Diba? So it only means habang kumukonti ang number of valence electrons ng isang metal, mas tumataas yung kanyang conductivity. Yes, as a matter of fact, the best conductors are those elements having only one valence electron, just like copper. Bakit kaya ganun? Kasi ganito yan. Kung iisipin mo, kung iisa ang valence electron mo, mas madali siyang ipamigay kung ipinamigay mo na siya, magiging free electron na siya, 'di ba? Kumpara kung yan ay halimbawa 2 o 3 or 4 na valence electrons. Parang mas mahirap sa kaloobang ipamigay yung mas marami kumpara dun sa iisa. So kung mas madali mo siyang maibigay, then mas madali siyang maging conduction or free electron. Okay? So, of all the metallic elements, which do you think is the most conductive? Is it copper? Actually, it's not, no? Of all the metallic elements, silver is considered as the best electrical conductor. Okay? Silver ang best electrical conductor. However, we know that the most commonly used material for manufacturing electrical conductors is copper, 'di ba? This is copper, yung medyo reddish brown na kulay na metal na iyan. Okay? So why don't we use silver instead? Of course, silver is much more expensive than copper, ano? So hindi practical na silver ang gawin mong electrical conductor na kawad ng kuryente, 'di ba? Bakit? Kasi bukod sa iyan ay mahal, baka kinabukasan pagising mo brown out na. Bakit? Kasi nanakaw na yung kawad ng kuryente, 'di ba? Imagine, yung copper wire nga, copper pa lang 'yan ha, ninanakaw na ng mga kawatan. How much more kung yan ay silver na? 'Di ba? Isipin natin. Hindi practical kung silver, although it's the best electrical conductor. Okay? Now, there are applications in which highly conductive thermal contacts are necessary. For example, if you want to connect an integrated circuit to the rest of the circuits, then you need to use bonding wires. No? Ang ginagamit dito na bonding wires ay gawa sa gold. So kita natin, ayan, no? These are gold wires na ginagamit para i-interconnect yung pins ng isang integrated circuit doon sa mismong lalagyan ng IC para magkaroon siya ng connection sa iba pang parts ng circuit. Gold ang ginagamit. Now, sir, yun bang gold ay mas conductive pa sa copper? Actually, hindi. No? Ang pagkakasunod-sunod niyan is silver, and then copper, and then gold. Now, kung gusto mo ng highly conductive, ay bakit ka pa gumamit ng gold? Ayun pala, mas conductive pa pala yung copper kumpara sa kanya. The reason is that gold is resistant to corrosion. Unlike copper, no? Ang copper kasi pwede pa siyang mag-tarnish kapag siya ay na-expose sa atmosphere. Of course, meron doong oxygen na pwedeng mag-react doon sa copper or any other chemicals present in the atmosphere which can cause corrosion, no? O pagka-tarnish. Kung sa bakal ang tawag ay kalawang, 'di ba? So ang gold ay stable, hindi siya basta-basta nagtatarnish. Kaya kahit mas conductive ang copper, ang ginagamit ay gold, no? Kahit pa sabihin natin na mas mahal siya. Sir, ay bakit hindi silver? Mas mura naman ng kaunti ang silver kumpara sa gold at mas conductive pa yung silver kumpara sa gold. The reason why is yun nga, no? Just like copper, silver also tarnishes with some of the chemicals present in the atmosphere. That's why gold is the preferred metal for bonding wires. So, ibig sabihin yan, sir, yung mga electronic components, electronic gadgets natin, meron silang taglay na gold? Yes, no, there are small traces or small amounts of gold in electronic gadgets, electronic devices and components. Yun nga, halimbawa dito, ginagamit siya na pang-konekta ng pins ng integrated circuit, no? Now, kung nabalitaan nyo yung naganap na Tokyo Olympics, 'di ba, lahat ng mga medals doon, silver, bronze at saka gold ay gawa sa recycled metals. Yes, according to the news, 100% of the metals required to manufacture the approximately 5,000 gold, silver, and bronze medals were extracted from small electronic devices contributed by people from all over Japan. That was according to a news. Ano? And how much gadgets were collected? Kasi sa Japan, according to the news, approximately 78,985 tons of used electronic devices were collected all over Japan, no, to come up with these 5,000 metals, no. Magkakasama na yun yung gold, silver at saka copper. So again, the reason why gold was chosen because it does not oxidize or corrode with the atmosphere. And that's just one of the many reasons why, no. Isang dahilan pa dyan is yung bonding, ano. Kapag ka gold yung ginamit natin na bonding wire, yung pagbaband niyan, it can be carried out through thermosonic techniques. Ibig sabihin nito, hindi natin iinit yung device para maiband mo siya. Itong thermosonic banding na ito, it enables also faster rate of bands na pwede kang makagawa ng 20 bands per second. If you want, pwede kang magkolekta ng maraming electronic gadgets and devices. Tapos, ayun, extract mo yung gold doon. Kung marami kang time, baka ikakayaman mo yan. Now, let's talk about the properties of conductors in electrostatic equilibrium. We know that conductors are abundant with free electrons, and these free electrons are randomly moving in the space lattice due to thermal agitation. So even at room temperature, these free electrons are moving randomly. Why? Because these electrons are able to acquire sufficient kinetic energy from its surroundings, which enables them to move randomly. So kung random ang motion, ibig sabihin yan, walang specific direction yung paggalaw nila. So kung walang specific direction, posible kasi na may isang electron gumagalaw pa kanan, meron din namang isa pang electron gumagalaw pa kaliwa. So parang nagka-cancel lang din yung effect ng motions nila. Bakit? Kasi nga po, random ang paggalaw. Ano? Kung random yan, walang specific na direction kung saan gumagalaw ang mga free electrons na ito. Pero hindi ibig sabihin yan, hindi gumagalaw ang mga electrons. They are always moving. However, the motion is random. And as an effect, walang net drift. Ano? Kaya sinasabi natin na kapag isolated yung conductor, the net drift in any direction is zero. Bakit? Kasi walang specific direction kung saan gumagalaw ang mga free electrons. Saligwayan, kung baga, random yung motion nila. And when there is no net motion of charges in a conductor, then that conductor is said to be in a state of electrostatic equilibrium. Ayun. So ano pala ang ibig sabihin ng electrostatic equilibrium? Simple lang. Kapag walang net motion of charges, electrostatic equilibrium yung condition. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nito, yung mga charges ay hindi gumagalaw. Bakit? Kasi individually, these free electrons are always moving. However, if we get the net motion of all these free electrons, walang net motion kasi nga random ang kanilang paggalaw. No? Walang net drift sa isang particular na direction. Now, considering again an isolated conductor, pwede nating masabi na siya ay neutral. Bakit? Because in a neutral conductor, we have equal number of positive and negative charges. That's why the conductor is electrically neutral. And likewise, yung charge density ng isolated conductor, yun ay zero. Bakit? Kasi nga, zero ang net charge. At alam naman natin kung saan nanggagaling ang electric field. 'Di ba? Ang electric field ay nanggagaling sa mga electric charges. So if the net charge is zero, it also implies that the electric field inside a conductor in electrostatic equilibrium is always zero. Again, why? Because we know that these electric fields come from electric charges. And since that conductor is electrically neutral, the net charge is zero, then the net electric field inside the conductor is also zero. So tatandaang mabuti ha, kapag electrostatic equilibrium, zero ang net drift. There is no net motion of charges. And furthermore, the electric field inside the conductor is zero. But this is for an isolated conductor which is electrically neutral. Now, how about if that conductor is charged? For example, that conductor would acquire additional free electrons. So kung meron siyang additional free electrons, siya ay nakakaroon na ng net negative na charge. Diba? Kung mawawala naman siya ng mga electrons, then siya ay magiging positive ang charge. For example, imagine a conductor that acquires additional electrons. So these additional electrons are all negative, of course, kasi mga electrons yan. Ano? Kung sila lahat ay negative, can you imagine what will happen to them if they are on that conductor? Di ba maghihiwa-hiwalay sila? They will repel each other because they are all negative. And because they will repel each other, they will try to get as far away as possible from each other. So kung lalayo sila sa isa't isa, saan pupunta ang mga free electrons na ito? Okay, lalayo sila ng lalayo hanggang kaya nilang lumayo. Saan ba sila makakarating? Anong mararating nila? Di kapag sila ay nasa surface na ng conductor. And this happens actually very, very quickly. Napakabilis yung time interval kung saan biglang maghihiwa-hiwalay ang mga excess charges. So, kumbaga, ito ay nangyayari instantaneously. Kapag ang isang conductor, nilagyan mo ng excess electrons, no, instantly yung mga excess electrons na yan ay makikita mo na agad. Saan? Sa surface ng conductor. Ganun pala yun. Kapag ang isang conductor ay may charge, lahat ng excess charges ay nasa surface ng conductor. Bakit? Kasi alam natin sila ay nagre-repel sa isa't isa. So ngayon, ano na ang net charge sa loob ng conductor? 'Di ba? Nasaan ba ang mga excess charges? Nasa loob ba o nasa surface? 'Di ba sabi natin, they are on the surface. So what is the net charge inside the conductor? Still, that is zero. And because of that, the electric field inside the conductor must also be zero. Okay, i-prove natin yan. Halimbawa, gawa tayo dito ng isang conductor. Halimbawa, ito yung conductor natin. Ayan. Tapos, meron tayong excess charges. No? Yung excess charges, sinabi ko kanina, negative, di ba? So, yung negative charges na yan, nasa surface. Yan, dito ko ilalagay. Nasa surface ng conductor. So, marami sila. Buong palibot na yan. May mga negative charges dyan. So, kung gusto mong malaman ang electric field sa loob ng conductor, di ba, gagawa ka lang ng isang Gaussian surface. For example, gawa ako ng isang arbitrary Gaussian surface. Basta closed surface siya. Tanong, no, ano ang net charge sa loob ng Gaussian surface? Di ba zero? Bakit? Kasi nga lahat ng excess charges ay nandito sa surface. So, walang net charge doon sa loob ng Gaussian surface. Kung walang net charge sa loob, di ba, sabi ng Gauss's law, yung electric field na makocompute mo dyan, magiging zero. So that means, kahit pala ang isang conductor ay may charge, yung electric field sa loob niya, zero pa din. Yes! Kasi ang mga excess charges ay nasa surface ng conductor, wala sa loob. So, na-maintain natin yung condition, no, na sinasabi nating electrostatic equilibrium. Bakit? Kasi zero pa rin yung electric field doon sa loob. Sir, gumagalaw ba yung mga excess charges? Actually, yes, they are moving. But again, the motion is random. Naiintindihan po ba? Now, kung sinabi natin ngayon na may excess charges doon sa surface ng conductor, sa tingin ninyo, sa labas kaya ng conductor, magkakaroon ng electric field? Yes. Bakit? Kasi itong mga electric charges na ito, mag-e-establish sila ng electric field dun sa region na nasa labas ng conductor. So kung sa loob ng conductor, zero ang electric field, no? Sa labas ng conductor, magkakaroon tayo ng electric field. Bakit? Kasi mayroon tayong charges na mag-e-establish ng electric field sa labas, pero wala sa loob. And the electric field outside the conductor is always normal everywhere on the surface of the conductor. Sir, anong ibig sabihin ng normal? Di ba ibig sabihin yan perpendicular? Okay. So, i-prove natin na dapat yung electric field sa labas ng conductor ay normal. Paano yon? Ganito kasi yan. Halimbawa, ganito yung itsura ng electric field. Sir, bakit towards? Kasi negative di ba? Away from the positive, towards the negative. Posible ba na ganyan ang itsura ng electric field dun sa labas ng conductor? Actually, hindi. Bakit? Kasi kapag kaganyan, magkakaroon tayo ng dalawang components, di ba? Magkakaroon tayo ng tangential at saka normal component. Mas madali kasing i-illustrate yan Imagine, lahat ng negative na ito gawin nating positive para mas madaling i-imagine. Okay? Kung positive sila, di makakaroon ng electric field na directed away. Yan. Kung meron tayong electric field, yan ay may dalawang components, no? Yung isang component niya, normal, ito yon. At yung isang component niya, ito naman, tangential. Okay? Now, kung magkakaroon tayo ng tangential component, this electric field would exert a force on the charges on the surface, which will cause them to move in the direction defined by the direction of the field. If that happens, then gagalaw yung mga electric charges in a particular direction, no? At magkakaroon tayo ng net drift. So, pag nagkaroon ng net drift, then the conductor is no longer in electrostatic equilibrium. So kaya pala, kung electrostatic equilibrium yung conductor, hindi pwede na magkaroon ka ng tangential component. Kaya dapat, ang electric field ay laging normal, no? Doon sa surface. Kasi kung siya ay normal, wala siyang tangential component. Naiintindihan po ba? So, again, For the sake of argument, inassume natin na ganito ang itsura ng electric field. Kung ganyan ang itsura ng electric field, magkakaroon tayo ng normal at tangential component. Ang problema, kung magkakaroon ka ng tangential component, this will cause the charges on the surface to move in a particular direction, which will create a net drift. If there is a net drift, the conductor will no longer be in electrostatic equilibrium. So, anong requirement? Kung electrostatic equilibrium ang condition, dapat yung electric field sa labas ng conductor ay laging normal sa surface ng conductor. Naiintindihan po ba? Now, alam na natin na may electric field sa labas. O sige, normal daw siya. Gaano kalaki yung electric field doon sa labas ng conductor? Pwede nating makuha yan. Okay? So, gawa ulit ako ng drawing ha. Halimbawa, ito yung surface ng conductor, no? Tapos lagyan natin dito ng mga positive charges. Okay? Positive charges. Kasi charged siya. At ang mga positive charges na yan nasa surface ng conductor, 'di ba? Okay. So alam natin, meron tayong electric field na normal sa surface. For example, ito 'yon. Yan. Ito yung electric field ko. Okay? So, para malaman natin kung gaano kalaki yung electric field just outside, no? Just outside the surface of the conductor, gawa tayo ng isang Gaussian surface. For example, gamit tayo ng cylindrical, maliit lang na cylinder. Okay? Ang bawa ito siya. So, yung cylinder na yan ay may tumatagos na flux. Saan? Doon lang sa top na part. Dito sa part na bilog. So, since normal yan, ito kasi normal din eh, no? So, yung electric flux dito sa lateral side ay tangential, kaya walang flux na tatagos sa kanya. Ang flux ay tatagos lang saan? Doon sa part na ito. Ayan. And if we apply Gauss's law, di ba sabi ng Gauss's law, the net flux through a closed surface is equal to the charge enclosed. We know that this flux is equal to epsilon naught multiplied by E multiplied by the surface area of the Gaussian surface. So, dapat itong conductor na ito, meron siyang sigma. Ano yung sigma? Surface charge density. Because we have charges on the surface. Okay, so that's sigma multiplied by S. Okay, ano yung S? Yung surface area dito. Ayun, no? Kapag kinumpute natin itong electric field na ito, di ba magkakancel lang itong S na ito? Bakit? Kasi po, mayroon tayo ditong circle. Ayun. Itong circle na to at saka itong circle na to ay equal. No? At alam natin na wala namang flux na tumatagos dito sa babang circle. Kasi ang flux lang ay yung papunta sa labas. Bakit? Kasi nga ang electric field sa loob ay 0. Okay? So, isa lang yung S kung saan may tatagos na flux. Dun lang sa taas. At itong circle dito at saka itong circle doon, equal sila kaya magka-cancel. So, pag kinumpute mo yung electric field, ang makukuha mo ay sigma over epsilon naught. Okay, so meron na tayo ngayong magnitude. The electric field just outside the conductor has a magnitude equal to the surface charge density divided by epsilon naught. No? Yung epsilon naught ay permittivity of free space. Okay? So, that's it. No? Dito sa slide na to, ano ang ating natutunan? Kapag ang isang conductor ay nagtataglay ng excess charges, lahat ng charges ay makikita sa surface ng conductor, and because of that, the electric field inside the conductor is still 0. Now, if there are charges on the surface, they will establish an electric field on the region outside the conductor, and that electric field is always normal to the surface. And the electric field just outside the conductor has a magnitude equal to sigma over epsilon naught. Now, pakitaan ko kayo ng images dito para mas ma-imagine nyo ang gusto kong sabihin. Imagine we have a charged conductor. Meron siyang excess positive charges. So, nabanggit na natin kanina, kapag may charge ng conductor, saan makikita ang mga excess charges? Sila ay makikita lang sa surface ng conductor, kaya sa loob ng conductor, 0 pa rin ang electric field. Next, what if yung conductor ay mayroong cavity? May butas sa loob. Ano kaya ang electric field doon sa butas? Actually, the electric field in the cavity is also 0. Bakit? Kasi kung gagawa ka dito ng Gaussian surface, ano ang total charge na nasa loob ng Gaussian surface? 0 pa din, di ba? And because of that, the electric field inside the conductor is also 0. Now, what if doon sa loob ng cavity maglagay tayo ng isang point charge. For example, lagyan natin ang point charge na may magnitude na Q. Itong point charge na ito ay mag-i-induce ng negative charges dito sa inner surface ng cavity. Bakit? So we know that there are charges inside the conductor. However, we have an equal number of positive and negative charges. So yung mga negative charges na yun, maaakit doon sa positive charges. Kaya, sinasabi natin na nag-induce ng negative charges itong positive point charge Q. Ngayon, para masabi natin na sa Gaussian surface, zero ang electric field, dapat yung negative charges na nasa loob ng Gaussian surface equal ang magnitude doon sa Q para ang net charge ay maging zero. Okay? So again, for the electric field to be zero at all points on the Gaussian surface, then the surface of the cavity must have a total charge of negative Q equal in magnitude to this. No, para silang dalawa mag-cancel at ang net charge ay 0. So balikan ko lang yung kanina ha, 'di ba sinabi natin na sa surface ng conductor ay mayroong charges, tapos sa loob ng conductor ay 0 ang electric field at sa labas naman ng conductor mayroong electric field. Ngayon ang tanong, how about on the surface of the conductor? Ano kaya ang electric field sa mismong surface ng conductor? Meron kaya wala? 'Di ba? Mapapaisip ka eh. Meron kayang electric field sa surface ng conductor? Meron kaya? SF-SF. Halimbawa, ito yung conductor. Posible kaya na magkaroon ng electric field dito sa surface? Yes or no? Actually, zero pa rin ang electric field sa surface ng conductor. Bakit? Kasi isipin mo, kung may electric field dito sa surface ng conductor, again, what will happen to the excess charges? They will experience a force which will cause them to move in a particular direction, kaya magkakaroon ng net drift. Again, pag nagkaroon ng net drift, hindi na natin ma-maintain yung state of electrostatic equilibrium na ating sinasabi. Okay? So, tatandaang mabuti ha, kapag ang conductor ay nasa state of electrostatic equilibrium, the electric field inside and on the surface of the conductor must be zero. There is an electric field outside if the conductor is charged, and that electric field is always normal to the surface. Imagine, meron tayong isang conductor na neutral, inilagay natin sa isang region na may external electric field. What will happen? Siyempre, yung mga free electrons doon sa conductor ay gagalaw in a direction opposite to the electric field. Why? Because they are negative, 'di ba? Ang mga negative charges ay laging naaapektuhan ng force na opposite ang direction ng electric field. Okay? So halimbawa ito yung conductor natin, meron tayong external electric field directed to the right, yung mga free electrons dito sa metal na ito ay gagalaw papunta sa kaliwa. So magkakaroon dito ng mga negative charges. At sa kabilang side naman, syempre magkakaroon ng positive. Bakit? Kasi kung sila kanina sama-sama, labo-labo sila, ngayon magkakahiwalay yung positive at saka negative. Ano? So sinasabi natin na magkakaroon tayo ng polarization. Bakit? Kasi nagkaroon tayo dito ng positive at saka negative charges, no? Yung material natin ay na-polarize, no? Parang ang mga ano yan, D1 at saka mga DDS, no? Nahati sila, na-polarize. Merong mga makakanan at merong mga makakaliwa, 'di ba? Kaya watak-watak tayo eh, nahati tayo, no? So sino ang electric field? Si Duterte kasi siyang dahilan kaya tayo nakawatak-watak. Si Duterte pala yung electric field. Okay? So yung sumang-ayon sa kanya ang mga DDS, ito mga positive na ito. At yung mga kumokontra sila daw ang mga D1. So yan, we have an equal amount of positive and negative charges, no? On either sides of the conductor. Nagkaroon tayo ng induced positive and negative charges. So anong mangyayari ngayon sa positive at negative charges na yan? We know that these are electric charges, and because of that, magke-create sila ng kanilang electric field. 'Di ba? These induced charges will produce an electric field, no? Positive towards the negative. So that means magkakaroon tayo ng electric field na pakaliwa naman. Yes, saan galing yung electric field na yan? Yang E-int, yan yung internal electric field na galing dun sa induced charges. Okay? So, i-oppose nung internal electric field yung external electric field. Nagkataon kasi na yung electric field na makikreate sa loob equal ang magnitude dun sa electric field na nasa labas. So, magka-cancel sila. At anong effect niyan? Ang effect niyan ay di yung net electric field sa loob ng conductor, zero pa din. Ano? At yung charge density sa loob ng conductor ay zero pa din. Kagaya pa rin nung kanina, ang electric field sa loob ng conductor ay laging zero. Yes! Whether the conductor is charged or whether it is a neutral conductor which is subjected in an external electric field for as long as the conductor is in a state of electrostatic equilibrium, the electric field inside is always zero. Okay? So, bakit ba mahalaga na ang electric field sa loob ng conductor ay laging zero? Kasi nga, siya ay electrostatic equilibrium. Yun ay condition eh. Kung siya ay electrostatic equilibrium, dapat ang E sa loob ay laging zero. At yan ay mahalaga, yung property ng conductor na iyan. Kasi mamaya ipapakita ko sa inyo kung saan siya nagagamit. Ano, may application siya. It's very important that you should realize that if a conductor is in a state of static or electrostatic equilibrium, the net electric field inside is always zero. And how about if we have an external electric field? So yung external electric field na yan, nabanggit na natin kanina, lagi siyang normal or perpendicular dun sa surface ng conductor. Okay? So ngayon, saan kaya natin pwedeng gamitin yung property na ito ng conductor na kung siya pala ay nasa state of electrostatic equilibrium, yung electric field sa loob niya ay laging zero. Because of that, pwede mong gamitin ang mga conductors as an electrostatic shield. Yes. Bakit? Kasi nga sa loob niya, ang electric field ay laging zero. So for example, in a circuit, if there is a delicate component which should not interact with any external electric field, ilagay mo siya sa loob ng isang conductor. Ano? Bakit? Kasi kapag nasa loob siya ng isang conductor, kagaya nito, safe siya sa loob. Bakit? Kasi sa loob, ang electric field ay laging zero. Kahit pa may external electric field, yung external electric field na yan, hindi makakapasok sa loob. Why? Because the conductor acts as a shield. Why? Because as a property of a conductor in electrostatic equilibrium, the electric field inside is always zero. Sir, meron ba tayong mga practical na application kung saan ginagamit ang conductor as a shield? Yes. No? Siguro ay familiar kayo dun sa CATV. Yung CATV, kaya siya tinawag na CATV, that's cable television. Why cable? Because the television signal is actually being propagated through a cable, no? Yan yung coaxial cable na tinatawag. Sir, ano ba yung coaxial cable? Yan yung cable na may dalawang conductors, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na inner conductor, meron ding outer conductor. So yung signal ay dun dumadaan sa inner conductor, okay? Now, that inner conductor which carries this signal must be protected from any external fields para hindi magkaroon ng interference. Kaya yung outer conductor ang nagsisilbing electrostatic shield. Okay? Itong outer conductor na to connected siya sa ground, ano? So if there will be any interferences which will disrupt the signal flowing dun sa inner conductor, sila lahat ay mababypass towards the ground, no? At alam naman natin na itong conductor na ito, siya ay nag-a-act as an electrostatic shield. So sa loob niya, ang electric field dapat ay zero. 'Di ba? Of course, that is true only if the net charge in the inner conductor is also zero. Okay? Now, pagpalagay natin na meron tayong charged conductor. Di ba yung charged conductor na yan, mag-establish ng electric field sa region niya? Ayan, no? Yung electric field na mapuproduce nito ay hindi makakaapekto doon sa signal na dumadaan sa conductor A dito because we have a shield. Okay? So, this is how an actual coaxial cable looks like. Actually, diagram lang yan eh, no? Drawing lang siya. Meron tayo ditong inner conductor. Of course, in between the inner and the outer conductor, we have a dielectric insulator yan. So, itong outer conductor, nagsisilbing metallic shield yan. Of course, meron tayong outer jacket, no, to protect the cable from wear and tear, no, from abrasion. Okay? So, again, drawing lang siya. Ito yung realistic na picture ng coax cable. Yan. So, we have the inner conductor and this is the outer conductor, which is of course a metallic structure na nagsaserve as an electrostatic shield. Okay? O, di ba? So, nakita natin ngayon kung saan ginagamit yung property ng mga conductors na ito. No? Nagagamit silang shield. Another application of conductors as an electrostatic shield is in the packaging of integrated circuits and circuit components. O, halimbawa, dito sa picture na ito, may makikita tayo dito na board na nagtataglay ng circuit. No? Pagpalagay natin na ay motherboard ng isang computer. So, dito sa motherboard, meron tayong mga integrated circuits which are very prone to damage by electrostatic discharge. So para hindi sila ma-damage, inilalagay natin sila sa isang enclosure, no? Plastic 'yan, pero may metal, no? At yung metal na 'yon ang nag-a-act as shield to protect the sensitive components on this board from damages due to electrostatic discharge. Okay? So, kapag ikaw ay nagtrabaho sa mga semiconductor manufacturing companies, may encounter mo yung mga ganyang plastic. Okay? So, yan ay makintab kasi meron siyang metallic portion na nag-a-act as shield, again, to protect the sensitive components from electrostatic discharges. Another interesting application of conductors as electrostatic shield is the Faraday cage. Ano ba yung Faraday cage? Ito siya, oh. Yung concept niyan is metallic lang siya, metallic structure. Tapos kung may gusto kang protektahan from any external influences, ilagay mo lang siya sa loob ng cage. Kasi sa loob ng cage, again, ang electric field ay laging zero. So kung meron kang external electric field, nasa labas lang sila, di ba? Hindi sila makakapasok sa loob kasi nga may shield. No? So here, a Faraday cage immersed in a uniform electric field and the lines of the induced charges on the box combines with the uniform field to give zero total field inside the box. Kagaya nung in-explain ko kanina. Now, another thing that you will notice here is that yung electric field laging normal doon sa surface ng conductor. Okay? Ito, mas interesting. No? Meron tayo ditong isang device na tinatawag natin na Van de Graaff generator. Ano ba yon? Van de Graaff generator. Ano yan? Nag-generate siya ng static electric charges. So, kapag nag-accumulate ang maraming static electric charges, pwede silang mag-discharge. At pag yan ay na-discharge, makakakita tayo ng spark na kagaya nito, which looks like lightning, di ba? Man-made lightning. Okay? So dito, i-demonstrate na kapag ikaw ay nasa loob ng isang Faraday cage, safe ka mula doon sa electrostatic discharge. Okay? Make sure na hindi lalapat yung iyong balat doon sa metallic cage. Bakit? Kasi pag lumapat yan, syempre conductive yung balat mo, lalo na kung may pawis yan, makukuryente ka pa rin. Di ba? So halimbawa, kung ikaw ang magpa-perform ng experiment at magde-demo, no, papayag ka ba na ikaw yung nasa loob ng Faraday cage? Tapos may parang kidlat na tatama dun sa cage. I-demonstrate lang natin na pag ikaw pala ay nasa loob ng Faraday cage, safe na safe ka. Diba? Parang nakakatakot naman yan. However, in reality, physics works. You just have to follow the instructions. Follow the instructions and of course, everything will turn out well, no, as expected. So, this is the same concept na ginagamit sa mga buildings to protect them from lightning strikes, di ba? Yung mga building, nilalagyan niya yung tinatawag na lightning arrestor para kapag tumama yung kidlat doon sa building, yung kidlat tatama doon sa conductor, no? Yung conductor na yun yung lightning rod, di ba? Yun yung lightning arrestor. Na yun ay connected directly sa ground para maprotektahan yung building from electric shock. So now we have seen how the conductors in electrostatic equilibrium are used as electrostatic shields in various applications. Now, mag-solve naman tayo ng physics problem. Ano? Bago matapos yung lecture na ito, magsosolve tayo ng isang problem. Here, we have a charged, non-conducting sphere. Ito siya. Imagine that this is a sphere. So, ibig sabihin ito ay ano lang, side view. Ito ay sphere. Siya daw ay non-conducting, so insulator yan. No? Ang radius niya ay A, and it is concentric with a conducting spherical shell. So, ito ay isang conductor, kaya siya tinawag na shell kasi nga sa loob niya hollow. No? Pero yung hollow na yun, may lamang isang insulator. So, may charge yung insulator. So, pwede tayong mag-assume dito na ang mga charges ay nakadistribute uniformly dito sa insulator. At ang kanyang charge density ay rho v. Pwede na lang nating sabihin simply as yan ay rho. Okay? Rho is the volume charge density of this insulator. And again, we can assume that the charges are uniformly distributed. Ang hinahanap dito, ano daw yung electric field everywhere? To find the electric field everywhere, we need to use Gauss's law. No? Apply natin yung Gauss's law. First, hanapin natin yung electric field sa mismong loob ng insulator. For example, dito sa point na ito. Ano ang electric field dyan? So that we can know or we can calculate the electric field, gawa tayo ng Gaussian surface. Pagpalagay natin yan ay sphere. Okay? So this is our imaginary Gaussian surface. And we just apply Gauss's law, which states that the net flux is equal to the total charge enclosed. So again, hinahanap natin yung electric field in the region R, which is less than A. No? Nasa loob tayo ng sphere. Okay? So this flux is equal to epsilon naught multiplied by E multiplied by S. Yun yung surface area ng Gaussian surface. Tapos itong charge enclosed, yan yung charge na nasa loob ng Gaussian surface, which is equal to the charge density rho multiplied by the volume of the Gaussian surface. Okay? Ano ba ang volume ng Gaussian surface na yan? So, di ba sphere yan? 4/3 pi. Okay, so mula dito hanggang doon, yun yung R natin. Okay? So, 4/3 pi R cube. Okay. Now, i-substitute natin yung S. Epsilon naught E multiplied by, ano ang area ng Gaussian surface? So, 4 pi R squared. Okay, equal to rho multiplied by 4/3 pi R cube. So, we can simplify this expression. May mga magka-cancel dito. For example, yung 4 pi, itong R squared, magka-cancel. May matitira dito na isang R. So, pag kinumpute natin yung electric field, di ba? The electric field is equal to, ito yung E, equal yan sa rho times R divided by, itong 3. No? Mumultiply ko lang siya ng epsilon naught. Okay, so this is the electric field in the region which is inside this insulator. Okay, when R is less than A. Okay, next. Ano naman yung electric field dito sa region na ito? Yung kulay black. No? In the region R, between A and B. Okay, so R is greater than A, but less than B. So, ang pinag-uusapan natin ay dito sa black region. For example, dito. Ano ang electric field dyan? To get the electric field, again, gawa tayo ng isang imaginary Gaussian surface. Of course, spherical pa rin siya. No? Pag gumawa ako dito ng spherical Gaussian surface, halimbawa, ito siya. Ayan. Applyan lang natin yan ng Gauss's law. Sabi ng Gauss's law, the net flux is equal to the net charge or total charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. So here, this is epsilon naught times E multiplied by, ano yung R natin ngayon? Ito ngayon yung ating R. Yan. So 4 pi R squared. And the charge enclosed is equal to yung charge density na rho multiplied by 4/3 pi. Okay. Ano ba yung total charge na nasa loob ng Gaussian surface? Eh di ba yung entire non-conducting sphere na ang radius ay A. So 4/3 pi A cube. Tapos i-simplify natin, no? Ang mga magka-cancel is yung 4 pi. Tapos parang yun lang, no? So makukuha na natin ngayon yung electric field, ano? Ano ang electric field? Electric field is equal to rho A cube divided by, meron tayo ditong 3 times epsilon naught, 3 epsilon naught times R squared. Ayan. So, ito na ngayon yung magnitude ng electric field in the region which is between A and B. Okay, dito sa black region na ito. Next, ano naman yung electric field when R is greater than B but less than C? Anong ibig sabihin yan dito sa part na ito, no? 'Di ba conductor 'yan, no? So kung conductor siya, again, hindi na tayo magko-compute because we know that inside a conductor, the electric field is always zero. Okay? Ngayon, saan pa tayo kukuha ng electric field? Dito naman sa labas. Okay, halimbawa, dito sa labas na ito. Ano ang electric field dyan? Hindi gawa ka lang ulit ng Gaussian surface. Diba? Pag gumawa ka ng Gaussian surface, for example, ito yung point kung saan hinahanap yung electric field, gawa ka ng bilog. Imagine mo na lang may bilog dyan, no? And then apply Gauss's law. The net flux is equal to the total charge enclosed. This is equal to epsilon naught times E multiplied by, okay, ano yung ating S? Ang ating S is 4 pi R squared, di ba? Tapos, equal yan sa charge enclosed, which is equal to rho multiplied by the total charge inside. Sa loob ng Gaussian surface, imagine meron tayong Gaussian surface dyan. Ano ba yung total charge? Di ba yun yung total charge na nasa loob ng non-conducting sphere? Yes. So that's rho multiplied by its volume, 4/3 pi a cube. Yan. So kung napansin mo, ito rin yung kanina na na-compute natin, di ba? Ayun. Dito sa pangalawang electric field, ito pa rin yung makukuha natin. Rho a cube over 3 epsilon naught r squared. So ano lang pinagkaiba nila? Yung electric field dito at saka yung electric field sa labas, magkaiba ang magnitude. Siyempre, sa labas, mas malaki yung r, no? So kung mas malaki yung r, mas malayo siya, mas maliit yung electric field doon. Ano? So again, sulat lang natin yung electric field ha. E is equal to yung 4 pi magka-cancel, may matitira tayo na rho a cube over 3 epsilon naught multiplied by r squared. Ayan. So itong electric field na ito, yung expression niya, kagaya lang nung previous na nakuha natin kanina. The difference is that outside of this conducting shell, the electric field is weaker compared to the electric field inside the conducting shell. No? Okay. Next, itinatanong dito, ano daw ang charge density dun sa inner and outer surface ng conducting shell? Sir, bakit magkakaroon ng charge density dun? That's because may charge ito. Pagpalagay natin, positive yung charge ng non-conducting sphere. So, itong positive charge na yan, mag-i-induce ng negative charges na nandito sa surface ng conductor. Okay? So, ano ang charge density? Yung charge density niya na sigma, lagay natin I, no? Doon sa inner surface ay equal sa total charge, no? Gaano ba karami yung charge? Di ba? Yung total charge niya yan ay equal pa rin sa rho multiplied by 4/3 pi a cube. Ganyan naman karami yung magnitude ng charge. Bakit? Kasi yung total charge dito kung positive, mag-i-induce ng equal negative charge doon sa inner surface. Okay? Ito na ngayon yung total charge at i-divide natin yan ng surface area. Area ng ano? Dito, no? Sa outer surface. Ano ba ang radius niyan? So ito ay A, ito naman ay B. So we have 4 pi times B squared. Okay, meron ba dito magka-cancel? Magka-cancel ang 4 pi at may matitira tayo na sigma I equal sa rho a cube divided by 3b squared. Okay? So, since ito ay positive, yung mai-induce niya ay negative. Okay? Rho a cube over 3b squared. This is the surface charge density on the inner portion of the shell. Next, compute naman natin yung charge density doon sa outer surface. So, kung sa inner surface, nag-induce tayo ng negative charges, dito naman, mag-i-induce tayo ng positive. So, sigma I, dito ko na lang ilagay sa taas, sigma O, outer, is equal to the total charge. Ito pa rin yung total charge, di ba? Rho multiplied by 4/3 pi a cube. I-divide ko naman siya ngayon ng total surface area nito. Ano ba ang total surface area niyan? 4 pi c squared. Ayan. So, meron na tayong expression. Simplify natin yan. Magka-cancel ulit yung 4 pi. Ito. At may matitira na sigma O, which is equal to rho A cube over 3C squared. O, di ba? Halos same lang sila ng itsura. Ito, negative, yung surface charge density. Ito naman, positive. Okay? Sa tingin ninyo, alin yung mas malaki ang magnitude ng charge density? Yung charge density sa loob or charge density sa labas? Di ba? Mas malaki ang charge density sa loob. Bakit? Kasi mas maliit yung radius niya. Kung mas maliit yung radius niya, then mas malaki yung makukuha natin na charge density as compared dun sa outer surface, 'di ba? Sa outer surface, mas malaki yung radius. So lalaki yung denominator, liliit yung charge density. Considering na yung charge naman nasa numerator, parehas lang sila. So we can say that the charge density on the outer surface is less than the charge density on the inner surface. Okay? So, that's it, no? Nakapag-solve na tayo ng isang problem involving the application of Gauss's law, no? This time, hindi lang insulator yung sinolve natin. Mayroon din tayong conductor. At dahil tayo ay may conductor, dun sa loob ng conductor, ang electric field ay laging zero. Nauunawaan po ba? Yes. So, once again, before I dismiss you and I end this video, let us have a recap, no? What's the most important thing that we have learned in today's discussion? For a conductor in electrostatic equilibrium, there is no net motion of electric charges, no? And the electric field inside the conductor is always zero. If ever the conductor is charged, the charges always reside on the surface. And these charges on the surface will establish electric field on the region outside the conductor, no? And the electric field outside the conductor can be determined using Gauss's law. Kanina na-compute natin yung magnitude. Just outside the conductor, the magnitude of the field is equal to sigma over epsilon naught. And another important thing, if there is an external electric field, that field is always normal to the surface of the conductor. At saan ginagamit ang mga conductors? Ginagamit sila as an electrostatic shield. Why? Because inside conductors, the electric field is always zero. Okay? So I hope that you learn these things and you're able to appreciate the applications of these conductors in the form of electrostatic shielding. Thank you so much for watching. See you again in my next video. Bye!